Hello and welcome back to Easy Daily English.
Hi everyone, we are so happy you are here with us today.
Hey everyone, I'm Julia, and I totally understand how it feels to get stuck when speaking English. I've seen so many learners lose confidence because they get stuck on a word or can't express themselves the way they want. But here's the good news, there are simple and effective ways to never feel stuck again.
Exactly. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why learners get stuck in English, and more importantly, how to overcome it. By the end of this podcast, you'll have practical tools to speak more smoothly, think in English faster, and never freeze in a conversation again.
So if you're ready to boost your English confidence and speak without hesitation, stay with us till the end.
All right, let's start by understanding why English learners often feel stuck. What's really going on? Let's break it down. So, before we talk about how to never get stuck in English, let's first understand why it happens in the first place. Julia, from your experience working with English learners, what do you think is one of the biggest reasons people feel stuck?
Great question, Jason. One of the most common reasons is lack of confidence. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes, so they hesitate and overthink before speaking. They feel nervous, and that nervousness makes them forget words, even words they already know.
Yes, and the funny thing is, even native speakers make mistakes all the time, but they don't worry about it. They just keep going. But when English learners make a mistake, they feel embarrassed and stop talking.
Exactly. And that leads to the second big reason, fear of judgment. Many learners worry too much about what others will think. They ask themselves, what if I say something wrong? What if people laugh at me? But in reality, most people don't care if you make a small mistake.
That's such an important point. Let me ask our listeners, have you ever stopped yourself from speaking because you were afraid of saying the wrong word? If yes, you're not alone. Now, another reason learners get stuck is limited vocabulary. Julia, have you ever heard someone say, I want to say something, but I don't know the right word?
Oh, all the time. If you don't have enough words to express your thoughts, you will get stuck. But here's a secret, you don't need a big vocabulary to speak fluently. You just need to learn how to explain things in different ways.
Exactly. And we'll talk about how to do that later in this episode. But another reason people struggle is overthinking grammar. Some learners try to make their sentences perfect before they even say them.
Yes, and that makes them speak very slowly, or worse, they just freeze. Grammar is important, but it should never stop you from speaking.
All right. So far, we've talked about lack of confidence, fear of judgment, limited vocabulary, overthinking grammar. But there's one more reason why people feel stuck, lack of practice. Julia, do you think watching videos and studying grammar is enough?
Not at all. Many learners spend hours watching English lessons, but they never actually speak. Speaking is a skill. You have to practice it.
Exactly. So, if you ever feel stuck, don't worry. It's not because you're bad at English. It's just that you need the right methods to overcome these challenges. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Yes. Now that we know why learners get stuck, let's move on to the first solution, changing your mindset, because fluency starts in your mind.
All right. Now that we know why learners get stuck, let's talk about the first and most important solution, changing your mindset. Because let's be honest, fluency isn't just about words and grammar. It starts in your mind.
That's so true, Jason. If you believe that English is too difficult or that you're not good at languages, then guess what? You'll always feel stuck. But if you change your mindset and see English as a skill that improves with practice, everything changes.
Yes, and one of the biggest mindset shifts is this. You don't need to be perfect to be fluent. Julia, Have you ever met someone who speaks perfect English 100% of the time?
Never. Even native speakers make mistakes, pause, and sometimes forget words. The difference is they don't let it stop them.
Exactly. Fluency doesn't mean speaking perfectly. It means speaking comfortably. It means expressing yourself without fear. So, if you've been waiting to be perfect before speaking, stop right now. The best way to improve is to start speaking today.
And here's another mindset trick. Mistakes are not bad. Mistakes help you learn. Think about a baby learning to walk. Do they fall? Of course. But do they stop trying? No. They keep going until they get better.
Yes. But many English learners think, "Oh no, I made a mistake. I'm bad at English." That's the wrong mindset. Instead, try saying, "Great. I made a mistake," which means I'm learning. Now, here's a challenge for our listeners. Change your mindset about mistakes starting today. The next time you make a mistake while speaking, don't stop. Instead, smile and keep going. If you do this, I guarantee you'll feel more confident in English.
I love that challenge. And here's another mindset shift. Believe that you are an English speaker. Some learners think, I'm just a student learning English. But if you start saying, I am an English speaker, your confidence will grow.
Absolutely. So, let's do a quick exercise. If you're listening right now, say this out loud, I am an English speaker. I can speak English with confidence.
Great. This simple mindset shift makes a huge difference because when you believe in yourself, you'll speak more and improve faster.
Exactly. So, to recap, here are 3 mindset changes you need to make. You don't need to be perfect to be fluent. Mistakes are part of learning. Embrace them. Believe that you are an English speaker, not just a learner.
That was powerful, Jason. Now let's move to the next step, how to train your brain to think in English. Because if you think in English, you'll never feel stuck.
All right. Now that we've talked about changing your mindset, let's move to the next big step, learning to think in English. Because here's the truth. If you always translate from your native language to English in your head, you'll get stuck.
That's so true, Jason. Many learners get stuck because they try to form a sentence in their first language first, then translate it into English. But that takes too much time. Instead, the key is to start thinking in English directly.
Yes, and when you think in English, you'll be able to speak faster, feel more confident, and never freeze in a conversation. Julia, what are some ways learners can train their brain to think in English?
Great question. One of the easiest ways is describing things around you in English. Right now, look around and name objects in English. For example, if you see a table, think, this is a table. It's brown. It's made of wood. This simple exercise helps your brain get used to English.
I love that. And you can also do it with your daily routine. For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking in your first language, say in English, I am getting up. I am brushing my teeth. I am making coffee. This trains your brain to think in English naturally.
That's a great tip. And here's another one. Have silent conversations in your head. When you're walking or sitting alone, try to imagine talking to someone in English. Ask yourself questions and answer them, like, what am I going to do today? Or, what do I want to eat?
Yes. And if you don't know a word, don't stop. Instead, describe it. For example, if you forget the word umbrella, you can say, it's something you use when it rains to keep dry. This helps you think faster in English without getting stuck. All right, listeners, let's summarize some quick ways to start thinking in English. Name objects around you in English. Describe your daily routine in English. Have silent conversations with yourself. If you forget a word, describe it in another way.
Yes, if you practice these daily, you'll start thinking in English automatically, and you'll never have to translate in your head again.
Exactly. Now that we know how to think in English, let's move on to Solution 3, expanding your vocabulary the smart way. Because having the right words will help you feel even more confident. Now that we've learned how to think in English, let's talk about something just as important: active learning strategies. Because let's be honest, if you only study English passively, like watching videos or listening to podcasts without interaction, you won't improve as fast.
That's so true, Jason. Many learners listen to English for hours but still struggle to speak. Why? Because they're not using active learning strategies. So today, we're going to share some powerful techniques that will help you learn English faster and never get stuck.
All right, let's start with the first strategy, shadowing. Julia, can you explain how this works?
Of course. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say immediately, without pausing. It helps improve pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence.
Yes, and you can do this with podcasts, TV shows, or YouTube videos. Just pick a short clip, listen to a sentence, and try to repeat it at the same speed as the speaker.
And don't worry if you can't say it perfectly at first. Just keep practicing and your brain will get used to English sounds.
Great! Now, let's move to the next technique, the 5-second rule. This is a game changer. When someone asks you a question in English, give an answer within 5 seconds, no matter what.
I love this, because many learners pause too long, thinking of the perfect answer. But in real life, you don't have time to translate. This forces you to think quickly and use the words you already know.
All right. Here's another active learning method. Teach someone else. Even if you're not an expert, when you explain something in English, you remember it better.
Yes, you can teach a friend, a family member, or even speak to yourself in the mirror. When you try to explain things, you train your brain to use English more naturally.
And here's one more trick. Write short daily summaries in English. At the end of the day, write 3 to 5 sentences about what you did. This helps you practice thinking and writing in English without stress. All right, let's quickly recap the 4 active learning strategies we shared today. Shadowing repeat after native speakers to improve fluency. 5-second rule. Answer questions quickly to train your brain. Teach someone else. Explaining things helps you remember them. Daily summaries. Write a few sentences in English every day.
If you use even one of these methods daily, you'll improve so much faster and never feel stuck in English again.
Exactly. Now that we know how to learn actively, let's move on to Solution 4. The power of speaking every day. Because the best way to improve is to actually use English in real